star 572-0383 and 572-0215. Rev-Up St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.
Welcome to Meet the Minister, your inside look at government in action. Tune in every Friday at 10 a.m. on Rev-Up St. Lucia 97.1 FM for Meet the Minister, a powerful 60-minute conversation with a minister from the SLP government hosted by Jerry Fenelon. Get first-hand insights into the government's policies, programs, and progress as we discuss the issues that matter to you. Stay informed, stay engaged. That's Meet the Minister with Jerry Fenelon, Fridays at 10 a.m. only on Rev-Up St. Lucia 97.1 FM.
And now the host of Meet the Minister, Terence Fenelon. Mr. Fenelon, welcome once again.
Thank you, Andre. Good morning to our listeners in Facebook, YouTube, X, and especially in Soufrière, home of Auntie Emma. You know, that's one of my favorite politicians, you know.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
She's just dynamic, Andre. She's not loud, but she's incisive. You know, when you listen to her, she cuts to the chase and she just gets to the facts. She doesn't waste time with anything, you know. The others do that, you know, but I like her style. People tend to dismiss her because she's not, you know. But you listen and you get substance. So, Andre, it's nice to be back here.
Yes, nice seeing you again.
Yeah, I'm wrapping a T-shirt with Juju, so forgive me. People, I just wanted to, you know, you have to pay respects to the greats. You know, today we have our returning Minister of Education, the Honorable Sean Edward. You could just say hello before we start.
Good morning,
yes.
Andre.
Good morning, Mr. Edward. Nice to see you again.
It's a pleasure being here. Good morning, Mr. Fenelon.
Yes.
And good morning to the thousands, if not millions, of persons who tune in the morning to Rev Up.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Andre, you know, the producer says, Mr. Fenelon, you know, the first 10 minutes is yours, so I'm going to take the first 10 minutes. I'm stretching, Andre. Andre, I watched you yesterday.
And next thing you know, your special guest will say, it's over already?
I know you're good. You will extend the time.
I'm spoiling you.
Yes, that's right, Andre. But Andre, I watched you yesterday, man. You were in a torturous state, man. You know, you sat there and you were listening to stuff and you were... What were you thinking, man? And you know, these people come here and they spew all kind of garbage, you know. You know, Mr. Minister, you know, they talk about denigration of women, and then when they are confronted with their own misdeeds, you know what they say? Oh, Spider is just the PRO, he's not a minister, he's not a candidate. So it is all right for others to do it, as long as they are not candidates. I mean, you know, the hypocrisy and the double standard. And I mean, I promise not to go after Marcella, because we were neighbors, we grew up well, and there are other reasons. But, you know, I'm reaching the point, Andre, where I might reach breaking point and I'll have to go DEFCON 6.
I think you need to have your own show.
Because, Andre, the kind of nonsense, Mr. Minister, I don't know if you'll listen, the kind of nonsense, you know, so much so that a caller, a flubbo, had to call and says, the way you're going down there is not a good road. I'm a strong supporter and supporter of the flubbo. I respect you for doing that, because you are right. These fellas are just every day, every Sunday funnies, and they decided yesterday to do a Thursday funny, and it was difficult and painful to listen to and watch, Andre. You know, they talk about the ills and solutions, and they could not come up with one solution to anything to combat what is there. But Spider's right. When they get into, if they ever get into power, what they want to do is wrong the right, because they couldn't say anything. All they could, you know. And I remember, Andrew, when you asked them, but it is your leader who said about scarce resources, because they want the copper, and they were caught flat-footed, and they did not know how to respond. Andre, it was very difficult. And what killed me, the supporter says, "You're too green to be here." in other words, you're not ready for prime time. This is a supporter of the United Workers' Party telling the directorate of the party that the two prospective candidates they had there were too green. So you know they're saying to you, the populace, they are not ready for government. So you cannot vote. I mean, we have to analyze that properly, you know. Maybe I cannot do it properly here because we have to get into the meat of the matter there. But on another show, I really want to do it on your show, on your program, on your station, because that's where the sins were committed. And where the sins are committed, that's where you have to address the sins. But you know, you cannot come up with one policy and you're too green. So what they are saying is that these people are not ready. So why vote for them? Why present them to the electorate when they are not ready for prime time? Mr. Minister, I don't know if you want to chime in on that.
Well, we have to decide this morning what course we're taking.
Yes.
We can have an entire
we come into the good things.
discourse here, or we can deal with matters of education. I agree with everything you've said. Speaking with Stephenson King, who probably is perhaps the strongest United Workers Party supporter we know, but because of the disaffection with the Alan Chasney administration, he had to recuse himself from the United Workers Party to work with a government which he believes is working in the best interest of the country. That line that has been making the rounds, is one that we should not take lightly. And only yesterday or the day before, Minister King was saying to me that there's no way anybody would have made such pronouncements in the public domain with a United Workers Party branded shirt, and for you not to have been pulled up or summoned by the late Henry Girodi and the other seniors of the party. Because they understood the role of politics in nation building, they understood the role of government in nation building. But modern day United Workers Party, anything goes. And for some time now, it has been denigration of character, character assassination. And I said on another talk show that if they cannot get at you personally, they will find family members. Even your children are not spared from the ravages of this party. The tactics, the maneuverings have been particularly nasty. I'm yet to hear United Workers Party, any one of them, come out with a policy position to counter what we are espousing as a government and say, here's the alternative that will be in the best interest of people of St. Lucia. 90% of all the effort is geared at targeting people's reputations, their character, your name, your family, and just listen to it. And people are becoming very tired of that. From day one, I always try to move away from that kind of politics. Stick to the issues, see how best I can improve the lives of the people in my constituency, and by extension, the people of St. Lucia, depending on the portfolio that I shoulder in government. But from time to time, you have no choice but to respond. But by and large, I think we've done well as a St. Lucia Labour Party administration to stick to the issues as much as possible and to not allow ourselves to get drawn in acts of indiscretion that can make people see us as those on the other side. And there's an adage that if you wrestle with pigs, at the end of the day, you dirty, the pig is dirty, and the pig loves it. Now, let me clarify that as a figurative expression. Lest I be misconstrued and for it to be said tomorrow that I went on a national radio station and called people pigs. I am not calling anybody pig. There's nobody in the United Workers Party, irrespective of their political disposition, who, in my opinion, is a pig. I will never liken anybody to a pig. But it's just a figurative expression that tells you if you begin to behave in a nasty way that people behave, sooner or later you become nasty, and they would love to have you basically enjoying the kind of reputation that they themselves enjoy in the public eye. But I think we have a lot to discuss. There's a lot that is happening in the realm of education.
That's right.
And even away from education, I think our government, our administration has been doing exceptionally well to ensure that we not only put people first, but the policies that we roll out on a daily basis have to be in the best interest of people, irrespective of your station in life. We are the administration who made the reforms to the situation as it relates to pensioners, and we also the same administration that is ensuring that there is sufficient resources to deal with the challenges and the plight of early childhood educators and the children interested in their care. We are the same administration in whom investors can express confidence by coming in with billions of dollars, whether it's for hotel construction or other forms of investment to help grow this economy. In politics, you will always have opposition. It doesn't matter what your stance, what your policy position is, you will have opposition. But at the end of the day, it is up to you to ensure that you do not get distracted by a lot of the noise, but to keep your focus, continue reminding the people of what obtained when Alan Chasney was in government, and cause them to do a comparison between what obtains now and what obtained then. And if anybody's objective, they will tell you that by some distance, this Philip J.P.L. administration has outperformed the United Workers Party, and we are poised for another term of government where we will deliver even more to the people of St. Lucia. And the one thing that we have ensured, and to his credit, the Prime Minister, is that when we program, when we roll out projects, we do not discriminate against people because of their political affiliation. St. Lucia is too small a country, 138 square miles, a population of 180,000 people, for us to allow the politics to divide us along lines that persons want to push, and some of the things being perpetuated. And I'm just hoping that after this election cycle, there can be some form of retreat by all political practitioners, and for us to objectively look at the direction in which we want our country to move. I remember when Dr. Anthony was in office, there was the Vision Commission that he was trying to get going, where he brought together people from the major political parties as well as representatives from civil society organizations, where we could have had a blueprint for development, so that if an imperative is that St. Lucia needs an additional hospital with 200 beds, whether administrations had changed at the pools, we would have had a hospital. That idea of every 5 years you change your government and then the blueprint changes, that cannot be sustainable, and that is not in the best interest of the country. Thankfully, from where I sit, the poll results I've seen, the soundings on the ground, the St. Lucia Labour Party is poised for a second consecutive term, and that will give us an opportunity to deliver even more, as I would have stated when I started.
All right.
If you don't stop me, I'm not going to stop.
No. I mean, listen, we are on the eve of a new academic year.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a calendar year and the academic year, which begins September. That's Monday, the 1st of September. And I mean, basically, this program now is more like your address to the parents to allay their fears and to put things right, and to articulate to the St. Lucian public what is in place for every student, whether it is from the early childhood center up to the tertiary level. And so this morning, we're going to take our time, list again the initiatives, what's available to our students, and to tell the parents. So let us start with the position of the school plans, basically.
Yes, thank you. I'm very excited about this new academic year, starting on the 1st of September. But as you know, teachers were required to report
return,
1 week before, just for, so that they can plan adequately to ensure that there's a very smooth and uneventful start on Monday. And I want to thank the St. Lucia Teachers Union. I want to thank the hundreds of teachers we have in our school system for being as diligent as they have been to ensure that we are ready for a brand new academic year. We have approximately 26,000 school children in our system, from early childhood all the way up to Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. We have 71 public primary schools, and there you have an enrollment of approximately 13,000 children. We also have 7 private primary schools, namely the Tapion School, Montessori, the SDA schools in Sunny Acres, Monrepo, Labby, and I think there's one other private school, but just about 7. We have 22 public secondary schools, and there you have an enrollment of just around 10,126 students. So we are slightly higher with our enrollment at the primary level than at the secondary level. But when you add your enrollment at primary, secondary, tertiary, and early childhood, we're looking at roughly 26,000 children or students in our system. So you have to take everybody into consideration when you're planning an academic year and ensure that there is something for all. And I must say that our government has gone even beyond the call of duty to ensure that we've provided for students some of the things that ordinarily would not have been available. Every year, at the commencement of an academic year, irrespective of your station in life, every parent is expected to have monies to pay facilities fees. And facilities fees, these are monies that the schools collect basically to complement what they get from government to ensure that things happen throughout the school year. There are some persons who have misconstrued what happens with facilities fees. Let me say on the record that this is not a case where teachers or principals are looking to extort monies from parents. But those monies are necessary, as I said, to complement what government is making available to ensure that the school plant is kept into at a particular standard in terms of comfort levels and things of that sort. So the monies are collected, but when we came into government, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre decided that had to stop, and that the government would make those monies available to the schools as opposed to the parents having to get those monies. Because what we saw happening at a number of schools is that Those children who came from homes that were able, they would pay their fees in full and on time. And there were some students, when the parents asked for an additional week to pay, 1 week became 2 weeks, and 2 weeks became a month, and for the entire term, they just could not come up with the money, small as it may have been. And that is why when you are in government, it is very important for you to consider the circumstances of everybody and not assume that because it is X amount and that particular family can pay with ridiculous ease, that the situation is the same for a family that just cannot. So we decided we were going to eliminate facilities fees, and that is what we've done. So for every child in the public primary and secondary schools of this country, our government is paying the facilities fees for those children. For our Form 1s, those who would have transitioned from the CPE grade 6 at the primary level into the secondary schools, they all received compliments, the government, a bursary for $500. So the parents did receive a check for $500 that would help prepare those children for school, get the materials and whatnot. Those who attend school within their zones at the secondary level, we are also providing transportation for them. And that is not all. If from one child, the majority of whom, all of them, as a matter of fact, who would have been or gone to their new secondary schools for orientation, and I must say yesterday I was at the St. Joseph's Convent, the Ira Simmons Secondary, and I spent some time at the Bocage Secondary as well. I must tell you, the children look extremely smart in their uniforms, and there's an energy, there's a buzz about this new academic year. I'm just hoping that it will translate into very positive performances, not just in the realm of academics, but in the extracurricular activities, the sports and whatnot, discipline and that kind of thing. So I was saying that every one of the children who moved from primary to secondary, we have already paid for a brand new laptop computer for every single child, whether you're from Grosile, you're from Soufre, you're from Bouton, you're from Olio, it does not matter where you're from. It does not matter the secondary school that you have enrolled at. We are making a brand new laptop computer available to the child. In addition to just giving the child the device, through our curriculum and materials development unit, CAMDU, working with IT teachers in the various schools and some of the, some people in the private sector, we were able to develop what we call digital content, where textbooks that would have had the information, the concepts, and the notes, they have been digitized and are uploaded onto the devices so that our children can enjoy. This replaces what obtained when we got into government, where the government led by Alan Chasney had an arrangement with a private foreign company to provide the devices and the content. And I would have said on this show, as I've said at other stations, that the content that was developed, it was a bit suspect. It didn't have cultural relevance. And as a former school principal, the champion educator that you were and you still are, you will understand why content need to be relevant for effective learning to take place. Some of the animations and the illustrations on the devices were being done by people whose accents were foreign to us, very strange accents. Children could not understand everything that was being said. So we have remedied that, we have taken care of that. And we have also ensured that the millions of dollars that were paid over time for license fees for those devices and the content, that is a thing of the past. And that money, we had substantial savings that we were able to use to complement what Monroe University was making available to us by way of first generation scholarships. So the Form 1 students have a lot to look forward to. Also this year we do a lot for the students, but we must not forget our teachers. And you would know of the TMA, the Teaching Material Allowance. And the TMA is a very important intervention. When we came in, and it was Dr. Kenny Anthony who first introduced the Teaching Material Allowance. And let me tell you the backdrop to the TMA. You just have to go to Vieux Fort, stand near the arrival area at Hiwanura International Airport. And you'll see teachers coming from overseas. They would have been on vacation, but the majority of them are hauling 2 suitcases. And I can assure you, one is for personal effects, and the other is teaching materials, instructional aids, and things to motivate children and to decorate the classrooms. And they were doing that from their own pockets. And against that backdrop, Dr. Anthony believed that teachers should be given a teaching material allowance. When we came in, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, he did not just continue the TMA, but he increased it by $600. And that is why today every teacher receives $1,400 in August as part of the teaching material allowance, so that they can continue to buy their merit badges, they can continue to buy their stamps and their stickers, the little things that we take for granted. And I remember my own time at primary school and even infant school. There's nothing that warmed your heart more than when a teacher would place a little sticker on your book or on your exam paper that says well done. And you took that home and you paraded the entire community, showing people that you got a sticker. And this is why motivation is very necessary, and we have to do it. So every teacher now gets $1,400 for the teaching material allowance. For the first time, we are paying temporary teachers their salaries in full. Temporary teachers have loans at the banks that they need to service. Temporary teachers are parents, and they feel the strain of having to send their children to school at the beginning of a brand new academic year. They have to buy uniforms too. They have to buy shoes too. They have to meet their loan commitments at the bank too. And for a very, very long time in this country, temporary teachers were not being paid their August salary. The Honorable Philip J. Pierre, in his wisdom, and after discussion with his cabinet colleagues, he said that, and there was not much discussion on that, I can tell you, because everybody was in agreement. Temporary teachers are getting their salaries in full for the month of August.
So they have been paid.
So temporary teachers have been paid, and this is something that we look forward to continuing long after this academic year is over. Do not forget that it was our government that decided that, look, given the number, and again, you better appreciate that when your own experiences can speak to the policy initiatives that are being enunciated and that are being rolled out. I used to be the internal CXC registrar at the Dennery-based Clinton Mason Memorial Secondary School when I taught there. And I can tell you that students who come from 1, from 2, from 3, from 4, from 5, and just because their parents cannot mobilize sufficient to pay the CXC fees, the children, because of pride, they just disappear. They don't announce their departure. You notice you didn't see them on Monday, then they show up on Tuesday, you don't see them on Wednesday and Thursday, and gradually they just disappear from the horizon. And this is a child who's lost. And we had to actually take our private vehicles and go into the community to find them and to bring them back and find people through the corporate community who would help meet the cost of CXCs. We know the realities that confront parents and students in Form 5. The Prime Minister announced that he is paying CXC, CSEC, mathematics and language for every child. That is what we did last year and the year before. This year, the Prime Minister has announced that not just for mathematics and English, but this time we're paying 4 subjects for every child. Now, it is mandatory for students who sit at least 5
minimum
CXC, CSEC subjects
including English
every year, including English and math. So we've taken care of English and math, and this time we're paying an additional 2, one of which must be a science and the other foreign language. Why a foreign language and mathematics? Because I would have said here before that our education system is preparing our students to become global citizens. Gone are the days when your education system was preparing your students to take up employment in St. Lucia, to get a good job at Bank of St. Lucia, something that we consider to be prestigious, and for you to have done. That is not the case. We want that if circumstances dictate that a child has to pack up tomorrow to join parents in Germany, in Japan, or wherever in the world, that when he or she lands in that country, he or she ought to be on the same plane as his or her counterpart in the developed country. What we are realizing, and based on the reports I've gotten, is that our children are performing at a much higher level than children in their respective age categories when they land in countries overseas. I know of a particular child who would have been graduating from the St. Joseph's Convent this year, but she left in Form 2. When her peers who would have received their results 2 weeks ago are disappointed with some of the grades they would have gotten, she is already doing pre-med to start a medical career. So I'm very, very proud of what we've been able to do as a country, and I'm not going to take credit for it as the minister, but I think there are a lot of persons who, before my term, would have contributed to the system that we currently have, and we ought to ensure that we program and we do whatever is necessary to sustain.
I don't want to interrupt your flow.
Yeah.
But to me, as we're on the CXC and paying for, there is somebody I want to big up.
Yeah.
Lady Janice Compton.
Okay.
You would have heard about her work through the Sir John Compton Memorial Foundation. And I think, that's an unsung hero.
Yeah.
She has been paid, because you and I both know, we are teachers, how students could not afford.
Yeah.
Andre, I've seen big men cry tears because they have had children and they cannot pay. And then the foundation for Lady Janice would step up. And in the 22 schools, she would have pay at least a minimum of for 6 children, whether they're writing 6 or 7 subjects. For the, so I want to big that up, because we're not playing politics.
No, we're not.
We have to be honest, because Lady Janice, she did that. The Sir John Compton Memorial Foundation, and she has been helping. So I believe now maybe she'll be able to do more of it, because more students who you're already paying for, and we will be able to do that. So I just wanted to make sure that I give recognition where recognition
Yes,
is.
and there are quite a few other persons who do that, some of whom do not want to be mentioned, but every year they work very closely with some of our secondary schools, and they find out from the vice principals and the principals themselves to just send a list of children who are not able to meet the CXC commitments. I can tell you that when I became the Minister for Youth Development and Sports, knowing of the situation at the Clendon Mason Memorial in particular, where I taught, I just had to put a phone call through to Mr. Regis, Stephen Regis, who was the vice principal, recently retired, and just asked that he send me a list of names of students who have not paid. I won't ask for students who cannot pay, because by a particular date, if they have not paid, it means that the family is having some difficulty mobilizing the resources to ensure that the payments are made.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of persons who complain. The Darren Sami Foundation has been doing quite a bit of work, and there's so many other NIC, RISE in particular, Catherine Seeley's and a group. There are a number of those philanthropic and
Organizations
and social organizations that help students along the way. But just to go back to some of what I've said, we have given the $500 bursary to the Form 1 students. We're giving them a brand new laptop. We're paying facilities fees for students in the primary schools, public primary. We're paying facilities fees for students in the public secondary schools. We have increased the TMA, the teaching material allowance for teachers, by $600. So today a teacher gets $1,400 for the TMA. Temporary teachers are being paid for the first time in full after many years of not having received a salary in August, and that was proven to be a major setback for them. We have transitioned 4 TVET schools. We have spent roughly $5 million for the rehabilitation of schools through the Summer Works program. Almost every school has been touched, and after speaking with Prime Minister Pierre a couple of weeks ago, and I told him that yes, we've been able to do extensive work with the Summer Works allocation, that we needed an additional amount. The Prime Minister, through reform, was able to make $1 million additional available to us that we will be using to complement some of the work. And let me just say that we were not able to, the additional work that we were supposed to have done should have started last week, because the money came from the Ministry of Finance a bit late. So I took a decision with my permanent secretary, and I ran it by the PM, that I did not want any new works to commence the penultimate week of the vacation, for fear that those works would not have been completed and would have rendered schools unsuitable for instruction. So what will happen, and we will be speaking to the principals, the SLTU. We will also be speaking with the staff at various schools, just to let them know that we will be coming again to do some remedial work, particularly on evenings or on weekends, just to ensure that instruction is not disrupted in any way whatsoever. But this will call for the cooperation of the principals. It will call for the cooperation of the teachers, the ancillary staff, and the parents. But as I said, whatever approach we decide to use, it will not in any way whatsoever hinder instruction, and the Chief Education Officer has the responsibility to communicate that to the principals and the schools.
Okay, I just want to I want you to re-emphasize something, because you see the other side keeps saying, Oh, the e-books and the laptops we are given, they're empty. I don't know of any laptop that is empty. So we're saying again, they have search engines, Google, etc. But in addition to that,
okay, let me play devil's advocate here and say, okay, the laptops are empty, but we are the government that has rolled out 5,000 flow bundles,
precisely,
just for $20. It is costing more than $20.
Yes,
but a family can, for $20, have access to internet and other services provided by Flow and Digital because of an agreement that they have entered into with the government of St. Lucia. Yeah. So a child who did not have internet at home would have just gone home with a physical device. Because of the rollout of that program with the Flow bundles, the child has access to the internet and can log on and access content to ensure there's continuity of instruction at home. So we've gone further than that. We are actually uploading the content or the subject concepts, notes, whatever you want to call them, or the books onto the laptop. So the child moving around with a laptop has books, content, material, whatever you want to call it, for a number of subjects. And that was done by people in St. Lucia using local and regionally relevant context, scenarios, examples, whatever you want to call it, just to ensure that what we deliver is quality. But there will always be pushback, there will always be criticism, and especially given the times that we are in, as some persons would say, the silly season. To use a cricket analogy, you have to know what to play at and what to allow to go by outside the off stump and leave those things alone. Yes, very well.
I played cricket too.
I rather suspect you speak more about cricket than you were able to play. You know. I'm not in your records anyway.
What a low blow.
Did Andre play cricket?
Andre played nothing. No, but now let's allay the fears of the parents. Yeah. The students going to Form 5 now.
Yes.
They will be getting the 4C experience.
Yes.
So that registration opens in November, closes in December, so we can allay their fear. So I think you need to.
Let us just say, because some schools, whereas CXC has a time frame within which they encourage schools and governments and ministries of education to engage in the enrollment process. Some schools have been flexible in terms of when they begin to collate data for CXC, CSEC examinations. So what I would rather say is that during this first term, which starts on the 1st of September and ends in December, during this period, our government, led by the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, will make resources available to pay for 4 CXC CSEC subjects for students at the public secondary schools of this country. This is unprecedented. This has never been done before. And I can tell you, this is taking off a significant load from the shoulders of the parents, many of whom, not all, but many of whom are always at their wits' end trying to get the monies to pay. So the Form 5 child has a laptop computer, complements the government of St. Lucia. The Form 5 child, his or her facilities fees have been met by the government of St. Lucia, and the Form 5 child, for the first time in the history of our country, will have 4 subjects being paid on his or her behalf. So parents can sit pretty, knowing that promises made by our administration are always promises kept, and when it comes from the Prime Minister himself, as we say colloquially, you can take it to the bank.
Let it be written, let it be done. Let's go to the student nurses, because I think you have a wonderful package.
Student nurses
to unroll, to roll out.
Let me start off by saying I was at the South Louis Community College on Monday morning, where there was a ceremony, induction type ceremony for the new cohort of health sciences students, namely the nurses, persons enrolled to do public health. As a very small group of about maybe 10 of them, those doing midwifery, maybe another 10, 15. And then we had students who also doing the health aid program, maybe 10, 15. But the majority of students in the hall on Monday were students who had enrolled to do the general nursing degree at the South Louis Community College. The program is a full degree program, bachelor's of nursing. So we realize that there's a chronic shortage of nurses globally. From what the WHO, the World Health Organization, is saying, There's a deficit of approximately 6 million nurses worldwide. And the situation is exacerbated by COVID. We obviously cannot take care of the global situation, but we have our own deficit in St. Lucia, somewhere in the region of 120 to 150 nurses additional. That's what we need. We will obviously not get there overnight, but just to make the profession a little more attractive than it has been, and to encourage more students to enroll in the nursing program, the Honorable Prime Minister decided that we would be subsidizing tuition for nursing students at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. So it's a 4-year program. The first year students will receive, compliments the government of St. Lucia, $2,500. The second year students will receive $2,500. The students in the third year, which is the penultimate year of the program, we will pay on their behalf $5,000, which is half the tuition. And the final year students, who would have gone through the rigors of years 1, 2, and 3, and who are about to write their final exams and to transition into the world of work. We know the pressures that can come with that psychologically and financially. We have decided as an administration to pay their tuition in full, which is $10,000 per student for the entire year. This is unprecedented. This has never happened before. And I can tell you there's a buzz, there's an excitement, there are expressions of gratitude on the part of not just the students themselves, but the faculty at Sir Arthur. The dean and I spoke last week, maybe 3 times for the week, and everybody in one voice is singing about how grateful they are for that intervention. The Prime Minister is minded to do the same for the other health sciences program. We are crunching the figures, and I'm hoping that soon from now, the Prime Minister will be in a position to tell us whether we will start immediately or whether it is something we'll look at in our next term. But this is very, very important. Sir Arthur Lewis Community College has been busy all week. I was at the college on Monday, I was there on Tuesday. Even on Wednesday, my constituency day, I had reason to be at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. This morning, I was on the phone for about half an hour with the Deputy Chair of the Board of Governors of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, Mrs. Fortuna Anthony, discussing matters pertinent to the college and how we can make the college more responsive to the needs of society, and to make it a place that is more friendly, student-friendly. And again, this has to do with the premium that we place on education. Any small country, you do not exist in the Middle East where you have oil reserves. 180,000 people. There is nothing that can be more important than investment in your human resource base. There can be no St. Lucia to talk about if we do not invest heavily in the training of our young people. Human resource development and training are critical for the forward march of this country. The pictures on their own, yes, they are attractive, World Heritage status. People come, they take their photos. Our beaches are pristine. All of this is wonderful. But the real growth, projecting ourselves on a global stage, will be heavily dependent on the investments we make in people, in particular the children of the nation, through our education system. And by training, I'm talking about scholarships. I'm talking about higher education. I'm talking about 120 bursaries that will be rolled out in full to young persons attending the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. We're talking about 44 students who would have left St. Lucia last week to study in Taiwan. We're talking about 11 students who left just a few days ago to study medicine and health-related areas in Cuba. We're talking about Cabinet having met only on Monday, a few days ago, where 75 first-generation scholarships were approved, and the students will be starting at Monroe University next week. And first generation, I've explained before, persons who come from households and families where nobody before would have had the opportunity to attend university. And that is what we are doing. So 120 bursaries will be rolled out next week. 75 first generation scholarships. 44 left 2 weeks ago for Taiwan. 11 left last week for Cuba. We have another 5 and 7 leaving for Hungary, Morocco, Serbia. So we're doing our bit. And for the first time, we are entering a partnership with the University of the West Indies, whereby we can provide additional help to those persons who have opted to study online. We have the Unipass, where persons who have embarked on studies on their own, but they are facing financial difficulties. They've been challenged and constrained by inadequate financial resources at home. They can apply to the Unipass, where we have a committee who sits, they look at the application and make a grant contribution or financial contribution, give them a grant to continue and to finish their studies. But that is not all. We also went to Parliament and we approved or we guaranteed a loan for the St. Lucia Development Bank so that young St. Lucians and their parents can go there and access monies for education in ways that are less cumbersome than what the commercial banks would put you through for the education of your children. So there's so much that we are doing in education. There's so much that we're doing for the young people of this country. And we're not just talking the talk, but we are actually committing the resources upfront. And you must laud, you must applaud, you must commend, and you must show your appreciation and your gratitude to the Honorable Philip Joseph Pierre, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, for making those resources. Those monies could have been used, to give more vehicles to the police. Those monies could have been used to improve so many things at the hospital, notwithstanding the unprecedented levels of investment we've made in the healthcare sector. But the Prime Minister is very deliberate and very targeted with the resources that he very measured. He is not reckless with what he is putting in the education sector, and we have to be very, very thankful for that. We cannot forget the contributions that have been made to the early childhood education sector.
Yes, I was going to tell you three things we needed to touch.
Yes, we have to talk about the early childhood education centers.
Are we ready in the school to welcome them?
Early childhood centers operated. The majority of them, as I would have indicated before, are privately run. And they existed on their own with the field officer from the early childhood unit and maybe the Ministry of Health paying a visit from time to time to ensure that minimum standards are adhered to. The Prime Minister felt it was unfair to allow the private sector, or private individuals rather, to carry such a heavy load without direct governmental support. And he decided for the first time last year that we were giving a subvention to private early childhood practitioners, people who run their preschools and the early childhood centers on their own. So we started by giving each one, 106 of them, $2,500 each. Now, some might say, what is $2,500? Just imagine they existed for years, decades, without getting anything from government. We gave each of them $2,500. That money they can use to service utility bills, to enhance the aesthetics of their place, and to use it in any way, shape, or form that they believe can enhance the services that they deliver to the children interested in their care. This year, the Prime Minister has come again, and upon reflection, he said that the $2,500 that he's given to the private early childhood centers is insufficient, and he has increased it by $500. So this year, unlike last year where everybody received $2,500, every private early childhood center in St. Lucia will be receiving a subvention of $3,000. Now, when a child goes to an early childhood center, privately owned, the parent must pay for the child.
That's right.
The parent meets the full cost of care, tuition, instruction, whatever you want to call it. That is on the parent, 100%. The Prime Minister last year said that he would make $50 available for every child per term to subsidize it on behalf of the parents. Again, this time he has doubled it. So this year he'll be making $100 available to the early childhood centers, $100 per child in each of the private early childhood centers. And this is part and parcel of something much, much bigger that is coming as it relates to early childhood education, where I would have told you last we met that we currently have universal secondary education, we have universal primary education, and soon from today, it is our intention to roll out a comprehensive universal early childhood education policy that will take care of.
We have to try and take one or two calls. But before we do that, some fellas who came on the heavy attack because we are trying to end period poverty for our female students. So just briefly talk about that.
Yes,
and then we shall open
period poverty. You see, the thing is, the reason why I can speak so authoritatively on some of the subjects is not because I am the best read Minister of Education St. Lucia has ever had. Prior to having one strand of beard, when I left secondary school, I went straight into the classroom. I taught for many years before politics snatched me. So I know the realities as they exist in the classroom. I taught at primary level, I taught at secondary level. And you have to understand that there's some students, especially when they develop into adolescent and whatnot. You hear the stories at the school level. The counselors would come and tell the stories, and some students just cannot provide for themselves. And that particular initiative, where we are making sanitary napkins available to girls at the secondary school, people may laugh at it if you want, but the reality as it obtains at several of our secondary schools and even at the primary level is that some children just cannot provide, the families cannot provide. So the Prime Minister, again, true to form, he has made the monies available. That is clearly in the purview of the Chief Education Officer and the Permanent Secretary to find a modality in terms of how it works. But I can assure you that this academic year, the young ladies in our school system will be receiving that kind of support. It is necessary, it is timely, and it is not what politicians say because they've assumed a position of convenience ahead of a general election. The reality that confronts the average child at the secondary school and the families from which they come is such that they need that intervention. Those I've spoken with, they welcome the intervention, and we will not renege on that promise. And I suspect this is one that is here to stay, and no amount of talk and attacks from the other side will stop us from
just lastly before we open the lines, Andre. I know
we have two calls there.
Two calls. Hold on. Just give us a minute. The Prime Minister just got a grant from Taiwan of I forgot the exact figure, but it says out of that $1 million will be made available for sporting equipment to schools. And when you think of when Drew, the St. Lucia Kings with Akeem and the others, the boys from Monrepo, and I think that filled my heart with joy to know that sporting equipment,
human resource development, and investing in people is not just investments made within the four walls of the classroom. But sport is a meaningful avenue for which the human potential can be realized. And history is replete with examples. We've seen it in other countries, other jurisdictions, where people came from very poor backgrounds and they made it big on the world stage, not just for themselves, but how they were able to project their countries for tourism purposes, etc. Julian has done that. Darren Sammy would have done that. Lovin would have done that. Johnson Charles would have done that. Akim is doing it now. Several of our swimmers have represented us well, other athletes and so on. I'm just mentioning the ones that just come to mind. But this is a very good investment where at the school level, we need to expose our children to quality equipment and quality facilities. Quality facilities, quality equipment make for quality players. You cannot become a world-class athlete where you have demonstrated that you have the potential to become elite and the conditions under which you play and the equipment that you have been given are below what is acceptable at a certain level.
All right, Andre.
So you have two calls.
You need your headphones, Minister. We have two calls on the line there. Just let me adjust Andre's contraptions there. They look archaic, but we shall do.
This is Meet the Minister with Terence Fenelon, special guest today, Education Minister Sean Edward.
Okay, good morning and thanks for calling me. Your question, please. Don't go on. Just ask your question and hang up because we have other calls. We have pressure time. Good morning. Yes.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Fenelon and Minister Edward.
Yes, sir.
Let me adjust my mind to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Very simple. All the schools are getting everything from the government, but the childhood centers, but I haven't heard you talk about the Donato school and the autistic children that's not gaining a foothold in this country with help under that vulnerable situation. You have a minister Why is that?
Okay.
Autism is beginning to be rampant in St. Lucia, and I know because the Donato School used to go to Mango Moon Gym, thanks to the efforts of Michelle that owns Coalport, and give these children some exercise. And I suggested to the gentleman in charge at the time, because I was in the gym there most of the time, everybody know that. And I said, why don't you put some little equipment at the Donato School to do it?
Okay, so your question is, what are we doing for these children?
My question.
Yes. Okay, we got the question.
And the lady Beth.
We got the question. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Maybe you can address it.
Thank you very much, caller. I think that's a very good question. What I can tell you about the Donato School is that we have gotten approval from the Caribbean Development Bank to give the Donato School a brand new home. The last discussion in Cabinet was the location. There was a bit of contention with some of the social providers and the Ministry of Education in terms of where would have been the best location for the Donato School. A plot of land had been identified on the Millennium Highway, and there are those persons who thought that was too far removed from Castries, especially if students had to be picked up by their parents after school. We were also looking at a building somewhere in the vicinity of the Calvary to acquire and to retrofit and to make it the new school for the students at the Donato School. Last year, through the Maria Holder Trust, which is a philanthropic organization operating from Barbados, we were able to give a brand new bus, particularly tailored to meet the specific needs of the students who attend Donato schools, the Donato school, and students who have certain challenges. So the bus would easily accommodate students who are wheelchair bound and who have other challenges. And I must thank Beachcomber and all the other partners who worked with the Maria Holder Trust and the Ministry of Education for making that bus available to the Donato School and to the other schools in the vicinity of Castries where you have students who are differently abled. In addition to the Donato School, a special education school will be constructed in Viewfort that has gotten approval. What we need to finalize now is the exact location, because the place that was originally earmarked for that particular structure, I think it's Invest in Lucia who have come with a development plan, which would mean that we have to relocate and find another spot for that particular facility. But I must tell you, the conversation is ongoing. There are a lot of our people at the level of the ministry too, and in the private sector, who have done extensive work with children with challenges, who believe that we ought not to be building new facilities for students with special needs. Instead, they ought to be incorporated in mainstream schooling. But the challenge we have and the difficulty we have is that a lot of our school plans were not designed to accommodate those students, and some of the teachers have not received the requisite training to incorporate those students into. So the conversation is ongoing. But what I can tell you is that at the level of the CDB, we have gotten approval to construct a new school for Donato, as well as an early childhood center in Viewfort. The one in Soufriere was recently refurbished, but that is being looked at as part of a much broader plan. Because if you know Soufriere well, the infant school is adjacent to the primary school. The primary school is adjacent to the special ed school in one space, and the aesthetics can be enhanced. So we're looking at construction of one facility that will incorporate all the different schools, make it more aesthetically pleasing, and to have what we call a Soufriere education complex that will also incorporate early childhood education and things of that sort, including the office of the district education officer, who is basically in the same general area.
Okay, we have another call.
Yes,
good morning. Thanks for calling me, the minister. Let's have your question,
good
please.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
My question to you is this. Do you find that you all are giving as much attention to these children, special needs children, as you all are given to, as they would say, the normal child?
No, caller, we are not.
Just hold on. I'm not finished. My reason for saying that is a lot of attention is given to the normal child with laptops and everything that is needed so that they can go to school and they can go. I do agree. I do agree, sir, because we're looking for the well-being of our children. But these children are normal too. And you don't hear anything. To me, you spoke for the whole morning, and I hardly heard you say anything about the special needs children.
You're right. You are right.
And so let me ask you, the question is this. A special needs child, normally a lot of them rely on Pampers for life. Not for a day, not for a week, but for life. And some of the parents cannot afford it. I may be able to afford it, but they might not be able to afford it. I may not be able to afford it. However, so what are you all doing to assist those children's parents and the school in that? And not only that, in them getting specialized attention. Because, they look as if they just put aside and, you're just looking after them. The teachers are trying, but I feel that you are giving a lot of attention to the normal child, but the special needs children are not getting that.
Thank
and
you,
I'm looking forward to wearing better.
Thank you,
sir.
Very good question.
And I will agree with you that we do not see with the same enthusiasm the things we do in the realm of special needs education. But what I can tell you is that we also provide devices to them. They don't get the normal laptops, but they got what we call assistive devices, where it is tailored to them. It is programmed to meet the child at his or her level. But I agree with you, it is not always in the forefront of the conversations that we are having, but it should never be interpreted to mean that we are not sensitive to the plight of the special needs child in the education system. But I agree that a lot of our PR is heavily centered on the quote-unquote normal schools.
Child. Yeah. All right. And we have more. Good morning. Thanks for calling me the minister. Let's have your question, please.
Good morning, Andre. Good morning, Mr. Filelo. Good morning, Mr.
Sir.
Minister.
Good morning. Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thanks for accepting my call.
Welcome.
Okay. Andre, the next time you'll accept my call, you'll be a year older.
Is birthday Andre coming up tomorrow? Today? Sunday. All right.
Okay. Mr. Minister, let me tell you, the government said that they're trying to get at least one university graduate for every household. Has this started already? Thank you.
That's
that's the question. Have we started that?
Yes, we have.
Just started.
Yes, we have started.
Oh, and what is the thing? I mean, how this goes about? Well, there is a criteria.
No, you apply for all the different scholarships that we make available, and all the facilities that we've put in place to access funding to enroll at university.
Is there, Andre?
We left.
Okay.
You have another call.
Yes, another caller. Good morning. Thanks for calling me the minister.
Good morning, Mr. Paul. Good morning, Mr. Edward, and good morning, Mr. Fenelo.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Very good. Just a quick question, because we heard stuff happening, but personally I've had for a few days ago to go to a particular school to assist a teacher in painting. Now I'm saying it's okay if a parent could always go, but then could they have a mechanism, because we know when they have major work to be done in the school, we have people doing it, but can we have just a major project like people getting the classrooms ready for the teachers? Or does it really have to be they have to get people to come in to assist them or every year like that? And sometimes we have the situation where the classroom is not being ready for the Monday. That's my question.
Thank you. Caller, in every modern education program that you do, that is by way of studies, they underscore that nexus between school and the community. And only yesterday, I was saying to a particular principal that you have to know your parents. The parents are resources themselves. The Ministry of Education, even if the Honorable Philip J. Pierre had to give me, when I say me, not me, Sean Edward personally, but the Ministry of Education, $100 million to undertake repair works in schools in St. Lucia, it still would not be sufficient. So it has to be a combination of approaches. We come in for our monies to do the summer works program. We also give an amount to principals to deal with minor issues like changing a door lock, a door, and things of that sort, a little painting of a classroom here and there. And then we also encourage principals to use the skills and the expertise of parents to help enhance the school plan. So there's nothing wrong if a particular teacher can mobilize resources in the community by getting skilled labor or skilled personnel to come and deal with an electrical issue in the classroom, to come and deal with a plumbing issue or deal with a painting issue. What we encourage is that when these things are happening, to inform the building officer from the plant and equipment unit assigned to the district so that they can know, they can document it, so that when monies are being allocated, we do not spend monies in areas that have already been attended to. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with a parent or somebody from the community who has the skills to go into a school and to help ready that particular building for instruction.
All right, we have another call. Good morning. Thanks for calling me, the Minister. Let's have your question, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Minister, and morning, teacher principal.
Good morning.
Somebody called this morning and asked about an autistic child that the parent cannot find a space for that autistic child. Minister, I would like you to speak to that. If you could call or leave a number where you can assist that child. The other one is, I knew Dr. Anthony had put a program in place for for children, or, well, I don't want to say use the other word, for differently able children. He had put a program in place where they get some monies every month. Is that program ongoing? And and there was a year in the budget he had put an extra $100. When the other party came in, it was not given. So I would like you to speak to that, if that is ongoing, and what do you all do with autistic children? Thank you.
The disability grant is what I think you're referencing, caller, and this is still ongoing. With respect to autism in schools, I did ask the question some time ago. Is it that we have more autistic children in our midst, or is it that because of the more aggressive screening that is happening, we are beginning to discover more cases? And most of the practitioners believe that it is the latter, that we are beginning to detect more because of the frequency with which we screen children. We have at least a special ed teacher assigned to almost every school in the country. Not all, but most, where they receive training to deal with the children who show traits of autism at a very, very early age because of the screening process. I would have made the point when a previous caller asked, what are we doing for the differently abled, etc. And the reality is there's a lot more that needs to be done. But we can only do so much within the confines of the resources available to us. But by and large, I think we are doing the best we can. And I need to commend on national radio and television, Mr. Dale Sengis, who heads our special educational needs unit, and all the members of the team for the support they've been providing to parents and to the schools themselves.
All right. Do we have Andre?
We do.
Very nice today, Andre. You're making up for yesterday's disaster, train wreck. Good morning, caller. Thanks for calling me, the Minister.
Morning. I just like to say as a long-time early child educator. Saturday night I met an administrator who was a very close friend of mine, and was telling me just last year you gave 2,500 and this year 3,000. And she was so grateful for that, because preschools have a lot. Children use a lot of water. They use a lot of material. And as she was saying, and as I know, your school must look enticing for the children when they come in.
Conducive.
To feel safe, to feel, that they don't even cry. And that's interesting, because you see right now, some parents now send the children to school at the age of 4. So more and more, they kind of try to save, paying money, and this and that. So that amount of money has done so much, because there's so much more that can be in the school now to entice and assist the children. Because, as you know, early childhood children is not abstract for them; it's practical. So your school must always have materials to have kids then, going to have them to challenge them to do all sorts of things. And then she see how so pleased she was with, and I'm so grateful for what that being an early child educator, and know the importance of this children having the basic to get them going into the infant and primary and also into secondary, because if they don't have that special support, it won't. And I'm very thankful for that. And I think the minister, I met you once. You were the one who took me to church to a funeral service one afternoon. After I was all in white, Mr. Minister.
Thank you, caller, for remembering that.
Yes, my brother was trying to get a parking and he couldn't, so you took me and brought me in and waited until my brother came back.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the call. Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Andre, you're not kicking us out yet. You have another call?
No, let's wrap up. Taking it for a habit, eh?
Andre has decided to kick us out, boy. Andre, you had a train wreck yesterday, so that's okay. I want to thank you for the calls. Andre, I want to, maybe Minister, not you, let me do that because maybe you are the second deputy leader of the party, but I think our slate is complete.
Yes, our slate is complete. The Labour Party has 17 candidates, well-trained, qualified, passionate, committed men and women who are prepared to go to the polls and to secure a second term for the Philip J.P. administration. And we must also remind St. Lucians that they ought not to be distracted by the noise of the UWP. We still await the policy alternatives to what we're doing. Those have not been forthcoming, but instead it's just attack after attack after attack, and we have to ask St. Lucians to keep their eyes on the prize. And this time we're not just protecting the victory, but we are programming to ensure the next victory, and we should never, ever allow Alan Chastney to be Prime Minister of this country again. The record is clear. And the choice is also clear. We are going for steady. We're going for a man who's prudent. We're going for a man who's measured. We're going for a man who's compassionate. And we do not have time to entertain reckless.
Yeah. Maybe you could just speak to the parents again and the students.
Yes, the parents. I will be addressing the nation. It's something that I do every year on the eve of the reopening of school. Just to say to the parents that I know you have worked hard to provide for the educational needs of your children. Continue to invest in your children. This is the best investment you can make. And I believe that if you stick with them, you work very closely with the principals and the teachers, the children will make you proud in the future. We've done our best as a Ministry of Education to conduct repairs at schools. We obviously could not do everything that needed to be done, but we have ensured that at least the minimum standards are met, and I want to encourage teachers to go in there with your usual enthusiasm and commitment and do it for the children of the nation. So thank you very much for having me on the program. I want to thank the Prime Minister for the resources. I want to thank my cabinet colleagues for the support that I've received from them, and I must also thank the senior management personnel in the Ministry of Education for having worked with me and for ensuring that we are poised for the commencement of what I expect to be another successful academic year.
All right, there you have it, Andre. Thanks for accommodating us. Listeners, thanks for your patience. Thanks for understanding. I hope that you are much clearer today, and come Monday, it's all systems go. All right, so until next week, Friday, Andre.
Yes.
This is Terence Fernandez signing out for Meet the Minister.
Thank you, Terence, and thank you, Mr. Minister. This has been Meet the Minister, heard on Rev-Up St. Lucia every Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And this is the end of my stint here on Rev-Up for today, Friday the 29th of August. Thanks for being with me. Have yourself a safe day, safe weekend. We have Kina coming on next. She'll be with you until 3 this afternoon, 3 o'clock. We'll be having Zen the DJ until 5. Then from 5, Mary Polius will be here with Powell Politic. So do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.